Re-Zero, Arc 9, Chapter 3, To each their mourning of you.
And so, my little sister will become His Excellency the Emperor Kun's wife. Certainly, the goal that we siblings have been striving towards has drawn near. Goal. That, you mentioned it before, revenge. Was it? That's right. Revenge against the world. He clapped his hands together, and towards the gentle man with blonde hair and glimmering eyes towards Flop O'Connell's answer, who stood opposite the Shadrachian woman. Tarata's eyes opened wide. Rather than the answer itself, she was seemingly surprised by the vigor of his response, but her lips soon curled into a smile. Revenge, it was a dangerous thing to hear and to laugh about. As expected of the Wallachian Empire's pride, a woman of the people of Shadrach, one could say, it was Flop who dyed the mood of this brave woman, which was quite the feat. Looking at the two people below and their exchange within the passageway of the fortress, Ram rested her chin on a banister as she appraised Flop and Tarata. It was a scene that she had come across by happenstance, but it was an interesting twist of fate to witness. Since joining forces at the Battle of the Imperial Capital, Ram held a favorable impression of the Shadrach. In general, the only people in the Wallachian Empire that Ram found it regrettable to part from were these women and Serena, who was in a complicated position due to her relationship with Roswell. Later, she would also like to show her gratitude to Rem's friend, Katya. Ram, what are you doing here? Ram, Ara, my Zelda. I was just watching your sister's love affairs from afar. My Zelda, ho, that's a nice hobby. Let me see. With that, the strong-eyed My Zelda saddled up next to Ram and leaned on the railing. Being Tarata's actual older sister, she watched below, squinting as she spoke with Flop. A slight glint of anxiety could be seen in her profile, causing Ram's light pink eyes to also narrow. Ram, this isn't like you. Are you worried about your sister? My Zelda, don't say that it's not like me. Firstly, how long have you and I known each other? Only a few days. Ram, time is needed. For Ram and you? My Zelda, ha ha ha, you're right. At Ram's question, the corners of My Zelda's mouth loosened, opening to laugh. Laughing, My Zelda slowly began to shake her head. My Zelda, the word worried feels weak. So, let's say concerned. Ram, I see. But of course. You are the elder sister of Tarata. Ram, too, is always worried about Rem. If I had to say it like you would, I'm always concerned about Rem. My Zelda, but there is no question that Subaru is a good man. Although his eyes are unfortunate, Ram. In regards to that, you and Ram will have to agree to disagree. Ram's voice dropped a little, and hearing this My Zelda laughed. Looking sideways at this smile, Ram said well then as she once again lowered her gaze to the scene below. Ram, you doubt the humanity of that gentleman? My Zelda, no, Flop is also a good man. His looks are slightly too soft, but he is a sight for sore eyes. Surely, Tarata, too, knows this. Her answer was both about his nature as a person and his looks, her phrasing subtly losing sight of the matter. In any case, it seemed like Ram could understand My Zelda's troubles, and it was not something that Ram could talk on as an outsider. Even if she was a blood sister, she would not be able to dictate what to do to the others involved. It was quite a situation, as if the younger sister did not know her older sister's heart. Ram, more and more, I am pleased by you, My Zelda. My Zelda, is that so? If you were a man, I think I would have made you my husband. As older sisters, both of them had much to say about their younger sister's love lives, and so they sat next to each other both physically and emotionally, Ram and My Zelda, looking down at the continued exchange between Flop and Tarata. Flop, listen, Miss Tarata. I may have said this before, but I'll dare to say it again. Flop held his hand out towards the sky, and as if to grasp those distant white clouds, or even the incessant falling rays of the sun, he opened and closed his hand. Flop, if you have a goal, a dream, and you talk big about achieving it, you have to seize the opportunities that come your way without hesitation. This unexpected connection with His Excellency the Emperor was exactly the kind of chance worth risking one's life for. Tarata, so, regarding that marriage between His Excellency the Emperor and Medium. Is she really okay with it? Flop, Of course, is what I would like to say. However, as you can imagine, there was quite a heated argument when it came to the marriage. I would say it was the biggest argument my sister and I have ever had. But, Flop, if I prioritized revenge on the world over the happiness of my immediate family, I'd really have my priorities all wrong. Which is why I didn't make a proposal that Medium would earnestly reject. Tarata, as Flop's expression gently softened, Tarata lowered her almond-shaped eyes. The much-talked-about marriage between Vincent Volacchia and Medium O'Connell, proposed by Flop and accepted by the Emperor, was a well-known fact among the concerned parties. If anything, rumors had spread widely even among the common people. Spreading the news about Vincent taking an empress was most likely Bastet's or Serena's strategy. Despite the lingering afterglow of victory over the great disaster, reports of misfortunes continued to pour in from all over the empire. Now more than ever, people needed hope. A celebratory even tone that concerned all citizens of the empire would be ideal for that. Ram, a shrewd man in a shrewd country, Ram couldn't tell how much Flop had considered when he had proposed this. However, since he'd made the decisive move at the right moment, he must have had some calculations. And this was true for Vincent, who'd accepted, and for the senior officials, who'd agreed after the fact. The saving grace, as Flop said, was that Medium, who had been used as a political pawn, did not hate Vincent. Considering all that, Flop's proposal was a cunning one. It would serve as a good example for a certain internal affairs officer who hid behind a facade of villainy, trying to fool himself as if applying a bitter medicine. As Ram watched the exchange, she glanced at the profile beside her. Ram, speaking of which, do you have any feelings for Emperor Vincent? My Zelda, that's a foolish question, Ram. Abel's good looks go without saying. But, as per the people of Shudrak's customs, it's our tradition to bring the groom back to the forest. Since I can't bring Abel back, he's nothing more than eye candy to me. Ram, I see. My Zelda, no, that's not right. Abel is both eye candy and a comrade in arms to me. Ram, I see. Ram nodded quietly to my Zelda, who crossed her arms and declared so. With all doubts cleared, the two spectators refocused on the conversation between the two below. Both were frustrated, and Flop assured Tarata that he was not forcing Medium to do anything. Tarata kept her eyes downcast and remarked, Flop, you're amazing. Tarata, you're able to consider both your goals and the people around you and take action accordingly. When you need to make a decision, you don't hesitate. Truly, you're admirable, Flop. That's a very funny thing to say, Miss Tarata. Tarata, huh? Did I say something funny, Flop? Yes, you did. Because the reason I could muster up the courage to make such decisions was that I followed your example, Miss Tarata. Tarata was blindsided by Flop, who pointed a finger at her with a snap. She was so shocked that she stopped thinking. As proof of that, she reflexively twisted Flop's outstretched finger and pinned him against the wall. Flop, ouch, ouch, ouch. Tarata, I'm sorry. I was so startled that I just reacted reflexively. Flop, no, it was my fault for being careless. As expected, a Shudrak chieftain has a different level of training. I need to learn more from you, not just your mindset. Tarata, mindset. Flop, yes, mindset. That's what I admire most about you. Waving his twisted arm, Flop smiled at Tarata. However, she looked bewildered, not understanding what he was smiling about. Flop, seeing her reaction, gave her a wry, endearing smile. Flop, when something bad happened to Miss Myzelda's leg, you unexpectedly had to take over as chieftain. You must have been worried. I'm sure it was painful. But you made your decision and took on the challenge with determination. Seeing you like that taught me the importance of not shying away from important decisions. Tarata, Flop, so, I wanted to give you my thanks. That's one of the two reasons I called you here. As for the second reason, Flop held up one finger on his left hand, then another on his right. Tarata's eyes widened at his words and she haltingly muttered, the second reason. At Tarata's murmur, Flop theatrically lowered both of his hands which had their fingers raised. Flop, today will never come again. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. This war made me realize once again what I thought I already knew. I'm grateful to the kind person who brought that flame into these eyes, to the kind person who made this moment possible. And, Tarata, Flop, Miss Tarata, I like your way of being and thinking very much. To put it more plainly, I would love to be with you. So, how about becoming Tarata O'Connell? Tarata, Flop, never let a chance go by to get what you want. I'll fully put into practice everything I've learned from you. Smiling and winking, Flop's words were unmistakably a marriage proposal. For Tarata, it must have been as shocking as the sky falling. Yet, at the same time, it was probably as joyful as flowers blooming on the ground. As a woman herself, Ram felt the need to applaud the blessing that had been bestowed upon her. However, Tarata, but, I am. Ram's light crimson eyes narrowed at the sight of Tarata's anguished expression. The root of Tarata's reaction had, oddly enough, become clear during her earlier conversation with Medium. As per Shadrakian custom, the groom must be taken back to the forest village. However, as the brother of the future Empress Medium, Flop would likely have many more responsibilities and tasks to fulfill in the imperial capital. To give them all up, and leave Medium at the imperial capital, that would be truly irresponsible. Tarata could see this too, so her hesitation crushed her joy. It was her succession to the position of Shadrakian chieftain that gave Flop the courage to propose. It was the spark that brought their hearts together, but it also became the obstacle that prevented them from being together. Tarata tried to confront this absurdity with a strong sense of responsibility, but then, my Zelda, don't hesitate, Tarata. Sister. Frozen in shock, Tarata's eyes widened at the sudden voice that came like a surprise attack. Until then, she hadn't noticed that Ram and my Zelda were on the walkway above them. She exchanged glances with her sister, who was gripping the banister tightly. Seeing her sister's behavior, my Zelda let out a small sigh, then swung up her right leg, which from the knee down was a wooden prosthetic, and slammed it onto the banister. And then, my Zelda, a chieftain who has to choose between her duties and a man isn't fit to be one. In all the battles I've fought, I've learned how to fight on one leg. If you're in such a sorry state, you should give up the position of chieftain. Tarata, wait a second, sister. That's, my Zelda, no way, I won't wait. The Shudrak have no need for a pathetic-looking sister like you. Saying this firmly, my Zelda took her leg down from the banister, and turned her back. Walking heavily, the differing sounds between her left and right steps were heard as she departed along the walkway. Ram sighed as she watched my Zelda's back as she left. Ram, is that your way of encouraging her as her big sister? My Zelda, she's not the kind of woman who would understand unless I told her. Ram, soon you will find yourself in the same position. Ram, disgusting. Ram replied with a grimace to the statement she did not want to hear. And so, thinking it would be rude of her to stay behind, Ram was about to follow my Zelda when, Flop, Miss My Zelda. I am deeply grateful. Is there anything I can do to repay you? In place of the stunned Tarata, Flop called out to my Zelda, who had just made a big decision. Without turning around or stopping, my Zelda waved her hand. My Zelda, it has been decided. A strong, robust man with a handsome face will be sent as an envoy to the Shudrak village. This way, the covenant between the imperial capital and our people will be maintained. Flop. Ha. I understand, Miss My Zelda. No, sister-in-law Kun. A resolution was reached between My Zelda and Flop, without first consulting the parties involved. Ram also understood that the ignored party would make a decision soon. Tarata, HK. That was because Ram, who was trailing behind My Zelda, could clearly hear Tarata's footsteps hit the ground as she ran towards Flop. Flop, are you sure that it's okay to on your own decide on returning to being the chieftain? My Zelda, If there's something one disagrees with, all they have to do is take it away from me. But, My Zelda cut off her words and turned her piercing gaze straight ahead. Following her gaze, Ram realized the reason why. At the end of the corridor, two women from the Shudrak tribe were waving their hands, Kuna and Holly. They greeted My Zelda, and then, with a wave of their hand, they pointed down the corridor with their chins. Kuna, how is it going? Has Tarata finally started behaving? My Zelda, yes, my younger sister is a handful. Holly, But, well, there's nothing to be done about it. After all, she's the chief's sister. Kuna, well, until we all talk about it, the chief is Tarata. Well, it doesn't really matter. I also have no objection to my Zelda returning as chief. I think the others would probably agree, too. When Kuna and Holly each gave a knowing smile, Ram got a glimpse of the love between Tarata and her people. With that understanding, Ram clasped her arms around her elbows and, though unexpected, Ram's peeping efforts were well worth it. Holly, just hearing that makes it sound pretty bad. Kuna, without the chief here, it would have left a terrible impression, wouldn't it? What an absurd thing to say. Holly and Kuna launched a volley of criticism at Ram's words. Ram shrugged her shoulders as my Zelda, who was right by her side, softened her gaze slightly and looked up at the sky with gentle eyes. While gazing up at the clear blue sky, so clear it was almost revolting, my Zelda, her soul sister. Ever since Mariulai died, Tarata has been depressed. You guys probably understand how much that hurts, right? Holly, yes. Kuna, I guess. My Zelda, the time has come for that to change. I consider it a blessing that Tarata has earned this victory. Those were words that Ram did not understand, reserved to the three Shadrakians. It may have been a relationship unrelated by blood, but that Kuna and Holly's relationship also fell into that category could be presumed. Given the strong bond between these two, it is not difficult to imagine how significant was the bond Tarata is said to have lost. Besides, Ram also knew very well that the things you have lost can never be replaced. Ram, the Empire was victorious, but in exchange, so much had been lost. Even close to Ram, the wounds suffered by Rem, Emilia, and Subaru were significant. However, simply staying by their side and continuing to talk to them is not a guaranteed cure for such wounds. Such an undeniable notion could only be cruel and unjust. My Zelda, to the vow of our forebearers, and the pride of their ancestral spirits, gratitude. Kuna and Holly, gratitude. To Tarata, who had found the only method to overcome these circumstances, my Zelda, Kuna and Holly give their blessings in the way of the Shadrakian people. Following the girl's example, Ram closed her eyes and joined in the prayer, and then she thought that there is no means to save the hearts of all those who mourn the lost. Such absurdity. Ram, gratitude. So she declared her own vow and pride, one different from that of the Shadrakians. The wheels of the wheelchair turned with a rattling sound. It was a sound they had grown accustomed to, but there were occasional clunking noises mixed in, caused by remnants of the mayhem, fragments of crumbled debris and cracks in the corridor that had yet to be fully repaired. Feeling uneasy about letting Katya go to such places alone, Rem had taken it upon herself to push her wheelchair. Katya, so, it seems that his work protecting His Excellency the Emperor was highly appreciated. He said that as an independent general, he will be given the role of protecting the Emperor at his side. Rem, is that so? That brother of yours. Katya, you look like you have something to say. No, never mind. You don't have to say it. What you're thinking, I'm probably thinking the same thing. Without turning around, Katya grasped her own pigtail hanging over her shoulder, her voice trembling as she spoke. Rem had not said much, but Katya's guess was probably correct. Thus, she decided to keep her thoughts about Jamal to herself, as requested. Whatever the case, Katya had sent off her blood brother despite her anxieties. His safe return must have been a great relief, even to the stubborn Katya. Indeed, having him return safely was what mattered most. Rem, Priscilla-san. Suddenly, as her mind was left wandering, Rem was struck by a wave of sentiment that tightened around her chest, causing her to utter those words. As Rem cast her pale blue eyes downward, her mind was filled with the image of a beautiful woman wrapped in vivid red flames, the Sun Princess who had kept Rem by her side for only a brief period of time. Priscilla, with her unwavering presence, radiated the heat she wore and incinerated everything, drawing the curtain on herself with a grace that was unmistakably her own while keeping others at bay. The words exchanged in what she did not expect to be their final conversation were ones she could never forget. However, Rem, you said I have a heart of diamond, but I don't understand. After seeing each other for the first time in days, during what would also turn out to be their final conversation, Priscilla had praised Rem for who she was now. Rem, too, had been able to take it in stride at that time, but now, she was no longer sure. Because Priscilla was gone. Katya, hey, Rem, is it all right for you to stay with me? Rem, eh? Suddenly, Rem was startled as the movement of the wheelchair she was pushing came to a halt. Looking down, she saw that Katya had grabbed the wheels, forcibly stopping its movement. Doing such a thing must have hurt Katya's slender hands. Rem, Katie, Katya, it's fine. Right now, my hands don't matter. Rather, what matters is you, Rem, me, Katya. Even if you're not here with me, you would still have your sister, people who know who you were before, and even that noisy guy. Rem, you mustn't. Staring at Rem, Katya's words grew gradually faster until she fell silent with an MHM. Rem interrupted her and shook her head, grateful for the thoughtfulness. Certainly, the presence of Ram, as well as Frederica and Petra, would be a source of support for Rem. But, not even they could fill the void left by Priscilla's absence. The days and moments Rem had spent with Priscilla were never known to them. And, as for the last person Katya mentioned, Subaru, Rem, I don't want to rely on that person now. Katya, you mean he's unreliable? Rem, no. I don't want to rely on him. I don't like it. To be just another one of his many goals. Katya, Rem's response surprised even herself as she spoke over Katya's question. Katya's eyes, too, widened at Rem's answer, which was understandable. Even Rem herself had not fully grasped her own feelings until she spoke them aloud. Once she voiced them, they became clear to her. Rem, it seems like you only see my shortcomings, Katya-san. Katya, I don't think that's the case, and if we're talking about shame, I have my fair share too. Actually, don't make me think about that, and don't remind me. Just thinking about the trouble I cause others by merely being alive makes me want to suffer. Considering Rem's feelings, she lightly refrained from saying want to die. At Katya's imperfect yet considerate compassion, Rem's lips curled slightly. She felt supported by Katya's mere presence, as Katya would say things like that without being overly concerned or excessively comforting. That was precisely why she had asked if Rem could stay with her. Rem, being by your side is calming, Katya-san. You always screech loudly and catch my attention right away. Katya, is that a compliment? Are you trying to compliment me? If so, you have no talent for praising others, you know. Rem, intending to express her sincere gratitude, was a bit taken aback by Katya's glare. And, just like that, Rem and Katya found themselves walking through the fortress. Hearing someone say oh, Rem looked up. There, she saw a young man with grey hair, smiling broadly and waving at them. Rem was clueless as to who this person was, but Katya let out an ah of recognition. Rem, do you know him? Katya, I wouldn't say that, but I know he's a slacker. Rem, a slacker? Young man, wait, that's not a very nice way to remember me. Well, at that point in time, it wasn't entirely inaccurate, though, was it? The young man, not particularly hurried, leisurely corrected Katya's impression of him. As he approached, Rem tightened her grip on the handles of the wheelchair, wary of him. Upon seeing Rem's reaction, the young man raised his hands and stopped in his tracks. Young man, don't worry. I'm not the kind of person who would harm anyone. I'm just a pathetic man who's lost his only talent and is now slinking away in luau spirits. Katya, slinking away in low spirits. Where are you going? Slacking off again? At a time when everyone is struggling and supporting each other in every way possible? Young man, I told you, that's not it. Though, I do agree with you about the current situation. With a wry smile, the young man looked behind him at the fortified city that was still in the early stages of reconstruction, and spread his thin arms wide to either side. Young man, up until now, I've had my sights set too high. From now on, I plan to keep my feet firmly on the ground, and live my life by focusing on what's right in front of me. Katya, I don't get it. What kind of declaration is that? Young man, it's me being respectful, miss. I wasn't sure if I'd get the chance to meet with you, but perhaps it's a final, stylish gesture from the stars. Katya did not drop her puzzled expression at the young man's vague expressions. On the other hand, while Rem remained cautious, it was clear that this young man had no malice or hostility toward Katya. On the contrary, just as he had said, there seemed to be a genuine sense of respect toward Katya. It was unclear if this had anything to do with Katya calling him a slacker, though. Young man, miss, you have saved the Wallachian Empire. The brightness of the rising sun and the activities of the people you see from here are all things you snatched from my commandment. Katya, are you making fun of me? Young man, no, it's really not that at all. I've been doing many things according to my commandment, but nothing His Excellency the Emperor or General First Class Chaisha did ever surprised me. What I mean is that you are the only one who did. Katya, I really don't get what you mean. It just feels like you're holding a grudge because I called you out for slacking off. But, as the young man gave a wry smile in response to Katya's answer, she paused. Then she mumbled a bit, pointed at Rem behind her, and continued, Katya, the reason I was there was because I was dragged along by Rem. And besides, it was at the Prime Minister's mansion that I met this girl in the first place, and then Todd. Anyway, Katya, who had been pointing at Rem, now pointed sharply at the young man. Then, Katya, I don't get all big-headed when I get compliments, regardless of whether or not I understand the logic or reasoning behind them. In the first place, it's suspicious to call a woman with bad legs amazing or special. I can't do anything on my own. Everything, it's all thanks to other people. Rem, Katya-san, isn't that a bit too much? Katya, huh? I'm still having you push my wheelchair right now, aren't I? If the wheels get stuck in a hole in the floor even once, I'd end up a pile of bones right there and then. Rem was overwhelmed by Katya's loud and brazen declaration, as she recognized that this exquisite mix of self-deprecation and trust in others was what made Katya's way of thinking so appealing. Young man, hair, ha ha ha. As Rem was in thought, the young man started to laugh hysterically, holding his stomach. Katya's shoulders jumped as she responded with a "WH what?" in a fluster, but Rem somehow understood why the young man was laughing. Sandwiched between Rem's vague understanding and Katya's lack thereof, the young man used his finger to wipe away the tears that had welled up in his eyes. Young man, it's been so nice talking with you. If you had told me that something like that could have cast aside my commandment, I wouldn't know what to say. Katya, I don't understand why you're so satisfied on your own. Young man, I'm sorry, but you'll have to ask someone else to help you with that. This is goodbye. Rem, where will you be going? Rem could not help but ask the young man who had shouldered the small bundle at his feet. Even though she did not know his name, nor did she have any reason to stop him, she did not want the young man who had praised Katya to be unhappy. In response to Rem's question, the young man pointed towards Mount Gildray, where the fortress stood. Young man, for now, I'm leaving the Empire. We'll then, take care. Neither Rem nor Katya could find the words to stop the young man who had answered only that and turned his back to walk away. They could only wish him good fortune as he cheerfully began his journey. The reason he could walk so confidently with his back straight was thanks to Rem, Katya, and many other people, but most of all, it was thanks to her for paving the way for the future with her dazzling way of life. Rem, it's all thanks to other people. Katya, WH what's the matter, do you have a problem with something? I know I probably went a little over the top with what I said. Rem, no. I thought it was very good, and very much like you, Katya-san. I don't want to make the mistake of thinking that I can stand all on my own, either. In response to Katya's intermittent glances, Rem rubbed her legs. As she watched this gesture, Katya, with downcast eyes, Katya, at some point, you started walking normally again. Rem, it seems to be because the mana that should have been flowing through my body wasn't flowing properly. It might also be effective on your legs, Katya-san. Katya, I'll be fine. My brother, or someone else, will push my wheelchair for me. Besides, Katya, you'll still be the one pushing me for a little while longer, won't you? Rem's eyes widened slightly when Katya timidly said this, but then she softened her gaze and nodded with a gentle yes. Both Rem and Katya knew well that for a little while longer would not be very long at all, and their exchange was built upon that understanding. She was sure that her separation from Katya would come soon when Rem would have to return to the place she came from with Subaru, Ram, and the others who had come to retrieve her. It would be a painful experience, but, parting ways with Katya and the people of this land, was a parting that left hope for a reunion. Teaching her the pain and bitterness of farewells that were not of that kind, it was her last act of consideration? Or was it maliciousness? Priscilla-san, Priscilla, follow thy own heart. For although your heart may ripple, those ripples shall never be unseemly. As muttered to herself, the last words Priscilla had spoken to her flashed through her mind. The ripples of her heart likely referred to the weakness within that would always and forever rise to the surface like bubbles, trying to disturb her peace. But, still, she did not want to be the kind of person who desperately wished to reject and distance herself from them, because Priscilla, the woman who illuminated Rem's life like a flame for a short while, who never mistook the truth, had said that Rem's ripples were not unseemly. So please, forgive this heart for rippling at the reality of your disappearance. Until the day those ripples subside, and I can remember you without tears.